want to ask you what were you talking about yesterday when you were talking about the accident playing music?
Yeah, the question was, do we want to be in control or not when we play?
So you two discussed this yesterday. It's a very interesting subject.
Yeah, I knew you would have something to say about that. Yeah. Because on one side we want to be in control of every detail and really dominate the instrument. And then again we use technology that we have no control over. We want accidents to happen. So what do you control? Do you want to control the instrument or do you want to...
How important is the accident when you're playing music?
It's the most important, because control you can always improve by practicing, but if you practice a lot you become very efficient on the instrument, but that's not what makes music exciting.
That's true.
So you have to develop strategies to let accident happen, so you can, and especially for solo performers. If you're in a group, there will always be an accident because maybe the drummer makes a different feel that you are not.
There is someone else that is covering your mistake.
For solo performers, it's really important to develop strategies to let accidents happen, so you can kind of amaze yourself.
Yeah, and this is because otherwise you would be boring yourself, or what?
Yes, and your audience.
And the audience, because if you are bored, then all is lost, and the public won't like it either. So, but is that the only reason? Because yesterday I was saying something like, in the non-foreseen part is where something comes in that may be higher or richer than what we can imagine or configure in our brains. It's kind of beyond our capacity, or what?
Yes. Yes, I agree. Did you say that yesterday?
He said that.
You said that? Oh, it's very philosophical. But the funny thing with that is that you don't know when it happens. If you videotape yourself or record your playing, you might hear it afterwards. When you listen back to it, you can hear, "Whoa, I thought that was a mistake." It really enriched the music. But when it's happening, you're not really realizing how good it is.
Yeah. So do errors still happen? I mean, something that you really don't want, and then you say, "Well, that was an error," and
Oh yeah, but it's not a big deal, you know.
That's not important.
No.
The important...
It's not, you know, for the last 3 months I've been playing in the streets in Stockholm.
Oh wow.
Full time, every day.
Great.
And the thing that you learn is to just do anything. And anything works if you just do it.
And if you have fun with it.
Yeah, that's important. You really have to play with a feeling that it's very exciting and it's true music. If you play on a routine, you know, people walk by. When you get into the feeling that this is really exciting, then people stop and listen. It's obvious in the street music.
Yeah, because they themselves, most listeners don't understand about the structure behind it. They don't. They didn't study harmonies, and they don't know why sophisticated music would be better than simple music.
The thing that I have seen in my own playing when busking in the street is that I can't pinpoint exactly what it is that catches people's attention, but I can feel when I have this certain inner feeling, emotion with the music I play, then people get interested.
That's when music comes through.
Yeah, but I can't.
Because otherwise it's just sound.
But I can't tell what it is technically.
No, it's not technical.
Yeah, I have to kind of use tricks like the actors use, like thinking about an old memory from my childhood or something, to get into the mood, and then the music starts to attract people.
Wow.
So I can't really say what's happening in the music, but I can tell what my emotional response is in that moment. And I change my inner radar from a musical to a purely emotional instinct during playing. And this happened from busking in the streets. And I would never have been able to find out about this in concerts. Because in a concert, people come with a picture of what they are supposed to hear. They have the idea, oh, this is an artist, I have my ticket, it's gonna be like this, and wherever you play, they think that it fits the picture they have. So they really don't get the essence of the music, and you don't get proper feedback. But when playing in the street, for people that don't need to listen to whatever you're doing, you get really good feedback.
Sure.
So that's what I learned in these 3 months.
And I have another question. How the repetition affects our brain?
Yeah, I think the patterns dissolve the filters in a way. We are all conditioned to filter out 90% or even more of the information that comes through our senses, and we stabilize those filters being kids already. I mean, during educations we're taught that this is important, this is not important, and then it seems that with the repetition we can knock on those doors until they open somehow, and then we perceive something that our senses always perceive, but our brain says it's nonsense, it's useless. Yeah, there's things, a lot of things have been there in the unconsciousness all the time, and then the repetition is like shaking it, and then things drop out or they reconfigure a little bit, and then we have new feelings about all things.
Yeah, it stretches the perspective.
It's a paradox, because you're focused on a segment that's repeating, that's expanding.
Yeah, like
your mind.
Yeah, like the music that you're playing on the piano, the minimalistic. It's quite some monotone patterns that have the same effect.
Yeah.
So you're messing with people's perception.
Yes,
with the
exactly.
Listeners' perception. That's very interesting.
Yeah, the guys with the mantras and other such techniques like the rosary, how do you call it? The Christians, what do they use when they repeat their?
They have it in Tibet too.
Yeah, it's very old ideas, and I think the way we do it, it's more accurate because the repetition is precise, digitally perfect, which I think is a positive. This is a positive thing. We don't need the variations in the repetition so much, and also because it's more pleasant. It's more different because each time we create a loop, it's a different one, and then we go that direction, we open that door, and so I really think that this music is in the first place a therapy for the one who plays it, and then once he gets kind of cleaner, more open, he can transfer that to a listener as well. But well, just with any therapy or anything you study, first you have to make the experience yourself, and I think a lot of people probably wouldn't need to go beyond that. So it's in the first place it's really a technology for the bedroom or
bedroom music.
Yeah. It's a pity that we can't do that so easily together, but most of those healing things happen alone or with somebody who's really focused, like a master or a teacher or a therapist. What I learned in Brazil is that from the African culture, from the slaves who brought their culture and preserved it perfectly, although they were prohibited of executing it. they're calling saints with rhythms. So that's another point of view of the same idea. You repeat a pattern on the drums, and depending on the pattern, a different saint incorporates in mostly the women dancing. So that's what they do. That's their ritual. That's what they do every week, or whenever they have their their religious rituals. That's the basic thing. And of course, these rhythms also have spread into the day, but not too much because they're very complex. And of course, the idea of calling the saint is their vision about music in general, also outside. I mean, the white people who play on a stage kind of adopted this view. So if you ask what's the reason for repeating, they might say, well, it's because we need to call a saint, otherwise it's just sound what we're producing, it's not interesting. What is music more than sound? We want the thing beyond the sound, not the sound.
But you know, one of the oldest instruments is just taking like anything, an object, and swing it around, and it makes a whining sound. That's really looping. Very basic Stone Age looping.
Yeah, or then the Indians, they loop on the spot. I mean, they dance in circles.
Yeah. And
they just go.
Yeah. The dervish.
And it's all for a purpose beyond. And it seems to me that Western music somehow forgot this fundamental aspect of music, or even thinks it's ridiculous or something, or old, or
harmony.
Yeah. We want to do smart music, intelligent music, complex.
But you're not talking about dance music, electronic dance music. It has a lot.
Has a lot of this rhythm.
Yeah.
The main aspect of repetition is rhythm, I think. What in the Eastern culture, in the Western culture, they focus on harmony, and the rhythm is something that was
from the devil or so.
Yeah. Also right.
Because it had this power that they kind of, at the same time that a religion would be responsible to call this power, they were afraid of it, in a way.
Yes.
And the guys of the electronic music, they're quite aware of that. At least those people that I meet, they know that they're doing serious and profound work with their raves. And yet, I think that the pre-programmed digital music has a problem due to the lack of the accident.
Right, because it's perfect.
Once you create something in the computer, it's totally under control, 100%.
Not necessarily.
No?
You know, there are algorithms for random that people use quite a lot to just to get these small accidents happening.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so that's there is a quite happening discussion about that in the music community.
But it's not a real accident. I mean, it's just so complex that you don't know what happens. But I mean, if there is really a power from outside, like the saint, that would come in and control something, if there is a string vibrating, then it depends on winds. I don't know what makes the string vibrate a bit different. And if it's an algorithm in the computer, this is not changeable by anything. So,
it changes in a range.
I think
it is a range.
You know,
of possibilities. Those random function.
No.
Yes,
you know,
because they are
random
programmed.
can be anything.
Because they are programmed to affect some parameters.
But if you
doesn't explore
but
all
what
the
about
real
if you randomize
mistakes.
the targeting of parameters too? You know, it's just a question of your imagination to set it up. I think you could set up just the same creative accidents in software as
if you're a programmer. Yes.
Yeah, you could even set it up better, but it's just that it's not happening so much yet. But you know, the good thing with physical instrument is the lack of accident, because if you hit the string, you know that it's gonna make a sound, but you don't know exactly what overtones will come. You know, every hit is a little different.
Yeah, that makes the music rich with those real instruments. Even if you have a piano where you can just hit the key a bit stronger or a bit softer, but there is a string behind that vibrates different each time. And if you have an electronic keyboard and you hit that key, it calls the same sample every time. And I feel that is tiring.
But that's not electronic music. Yes, electronic music to me is setting it up so it will react like a physical string with those natural variations and accidents. But it's much harder in electronics because you know with physics you have the physical laws and you have the tradition of instruments. Real instruments always sound good, even if you abuse them, you get something usable. But if you abuse electronic, like 90%, you get rubbish out of it.
What would be rubbish then?
Something that doesn't work in the music. So it's a lot more work to make music happen with electronics, because it doesn't rely on physics or this history and like having a resonation body for an instrument, like in a piano or a guitar. But I think it's possible, and you know, in some analog gear, some good analog gear instruments actually react in a way very similar to physical instruments in a musical way, and that's what's make them popular. That's outside the digital domain.
So the special thing about this club then is that we mix usually organic instrument, or at least organic playing, because it's pretty improvised and or free to some degree, and with the looping, which is precise, digitally perfect. I mean, in the past we used tapes; those were not quite so perfect. That was also an interesting aspect. It was getting worse over time, but now it's perfect, and this is sometimes boring. It's one of the problems of looping, that we have to care for the loop to evolve, and not to make it a prison, because the timing is constant, and harmonically it takes away some freedom as well. But on the other hand, it brings a lot of steadiness, or it forces us on the repetition, which does its special job. And yet we maintain the naturality, the accident. But we could mixture it the other way around.
You're fascinating.
Yeah. Yesterday I had the impression that we actually create machines which are not controllable, really. I mean, if you look at Andreas Wehler's playing, he may set up a loop from time to time, which is just regular repetition, but most of it is just stomping on the functions which chop up the things and keep changing it all the time. So it's almost anti-looping, because he doesn't repeat. It just drops and
like
folds around.
Like a cut-up technique.
And since he's such a fantastic player who has total control over the guitar, I find interesting that he uses such a machine to make himself lose the control. and not repeat. And because I doubt that he really can preview what it will sound like if he just steps on the several functions. And so observing him, of course, I ask myself what functions should I then create to serve such a brilliant musician to screw up his own music? Because that's
what he does. He screws up and then he survives, and that's the art form.
I think we have to go through chaos to create something new, isn't it?